In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Cartier Cougar Fountain Pen. I'll go over the specs, I'll do a writing sample, and I'll tell you what I like and don't like about this pen coming up. Blake here with Blake's Broadcast. On this channel, I review fountain pens, paper, and ink, and as always, I put links in the show notes in the description below. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, it really helps out my channel. Alright, let's get on with the review. This is the Cartier Cougar Fountain Pen, and this pen was released in the early 90s, and it came after the Cartier Pasha, which I reviewed a little while ago. I'll put a link to that up in the corner. So just in terms of the timeline, the Pasha came out in the late 80s, and then in the 90s, we saw a pen called the Panther, which was a pen designed for women. It was a cheaper pen and a smaller pen, and it was called the Panther. It had sort of panther dots on it, and it was sort of done, I think, as an honor or a tribute to Jean Toussaint, who was the main designer at Cartier for quite a long time, and she sort of brought the Panther to Cartier and kind of made Cartier known for their Panther products. Now, shortly after they released the Panther, they came out with this one, the Cougar, which was sort of the men's version of that pen. So if you looked at the Panther, basically the shape is exactly the same clip. We have these onyx cabochons on the ends of the pen, and similar, I'm not exactly sure what to call it, sort of gold ends. The Panther, however, had these sort of dots on it, sort of a Panther print, if you will. Whereas the Cougar, we have this fluted titanium finish. When you see this pen, it's quite small. And, you know, even though they said this is the men's version, it's definitely on the smaller side. It's significantly smaller than the Panther, not the Panther, the Pasha. And we'll do a comparison in a little bit just so you can see that difference. Now let's walk through the pen, and starting at the top, as I already mentioned, we have an onyx cabochon, which is also mirrored on the bottom. I think that looks really nice. And then at the cap here, we have this gold finish, which comes up sort of on the back of this pen, and that's something that is mirrored down at the tail. It looks really quite nice. And then we have a very rectangular clip. There's no taper to it, but we have these flutes which lines up with the flutes in the cap. It's really nice. And then on the corner, or on the side of this here, we can see Cougar de Cartier, and we have a serial number. And then on the other side, we can see made in France, and we have 1992, which is when this pen was made. And then going to the body, again, we have this titanium finish, fluted. We have the Cartier Trinity rings here, so that's 3 different colors of gold, white, rose gold, and yellow gold here, and then fluted body. And we have a snap cap here, and again, that fluting continues down onto the grip section here, and we have the same nib that we saw on the Pasha fountain pen. Now on this pen, I think it's a lot more proportional, whereas on the Pasha, it looked a little bit small. Now these nibs are threaded, and they are really smooth, 18 karat gold nibs, really nice nibs. We have a plastic feed, and on the Cougar, and I believe it's also the case for the Panther, we have a gold ring here, which was not present on the Pasha. We just saw this sort of plastic collar here, whereas on this one we have a gold portion, and that whole thing unscrews because it is threaded. Now, unscrewing the body here, have a standard international cartridge and converter, and it's branded Cartier Paris. It's a very nice converter, got a gold end there, which is really nice. And interestingly, it fits. It almost looks like it wouldn't fit, but it actually does fit quite nicely into the body there. Let's do some measurements, and then we can do some comparisons at the end here. In terms of the length, a little over 13 centimeters long, and then uncapped, looking at right about 12 centimeters. So again, a lot of the grip section and cap goes pretty deep into the pen. In terms of posting, I don't really like posting it, but it does post, so we'll just take a look at that. That's about 143 millimeters. It does get maybe a touch top heavy, but because it isn't so long, it does kind of rest nicely right on my finger here. It's not really something I do because this has quite a nice finish to it, and if you've noticed, it's a real fingerprint magnet because it is so shiny. Now, in terms of the grip section, we'll just go to the very back here before the gold ring, and we are looking at 9.1, and then right up at the edge of this fluting here, 8.4. So it's on the skinnier side for sure. And, you know, it's not something that I necessarily like to write pages and pages with, but I can get a solid page or two in A4 without it being too difficult or uncomfortable, rather. Weight-wise, 46.28 grams, pretty heavy, and uncapped 25.7. So like most Cartier pens, it feels like an expensive object. It's weighty. You're definitely not going to mistake this for something cheap. Now let's do some quick comparisons here with some other pens. Here we can see it with a Platinum 3776, and you can see the Platinum is definitely longer and a decent amount wider. Here it is with the Cartier Pasha, which uses the same nib, and here it is with the Cartier Louis Cartier, which uses a bigger nib than both these. This is the more modern pen, and here it is with a Aurora 88 fountain pen. I would say not a full-size pen. It's definitely on the smaller side. I do find it comfortable, but if you have really big hands, you're probably not going to be liking this pen too much. For today's writing sample, we're going to be doing this on a Mitsubishi bank paper notebook from the Paper Mind. And for Blake's Broadcast viewers and subscribers, you can get 10% off with code BB10 at checkout. We can maybe zoom in a little bit. What is this? I'm spelling Karen Dosh. This is Cartier Cougar, and this is a medium, and this is Hiroshi Zuku Yamabudo. Do some fast writing. No issues there. Now, in terms of flexibility, you can push on it a little bit and you will get some line variation, but it's pretty nail-like. I really would be careful with these, especially since they don't make them anymore. So I wouldn't push on them. In terms of reverse writing, very dry and scratchy. There is a significant difference in the line, but I don't know. It's scratchier than I would like. I suppose if I was in a pinch, it could do this. Overall, though, it's a really smooth writing pen. I really do put it this way. I've yet to have a bad writing Cartier pen. They are, to me, I think, nib-wise on a similar plane as ST DuPont, just very, very smooth, good quality, reliable nibs. So, what are my pros and cons for the Cartier Cougar Fountain Pen? Well, I think the biggest pro is the build quality. All of the Cartier pens that I've had are made really, really nicely. They have flawless finishing, and they're just sort of little jewels of a pen to hold, and I really enjoy using them. The nibs are threaded, so you can change them out, and I also like that the nibs are very, very smooth and reliable, so just really nice writing experience. Now, in terms of cons, it's a discontinued pen, so you have to buy one used, and that also means finding those nibs can be a little bit tricky, but it can be done. This pen is a fingerprint magnet, which I'm sure you've noticed throughout the review. It drives me nuts, especially under these lights. In regular use, it's not as bad, but I do find myself kind of wiping it off a decent amount. The other thing is this is a smaller pen for sure. This is not a full-size pen, and it's not one because of the nice finishing that I like to use post-it. So if you have bigger hands, you probably won't like this pen. For me, this is about as small as I want to go before it gets too small. I do find it to be comfortable. I don't get as much mileage out of it as something like an Aurora Optima or another bigger full-sized pen, but it's a very enjoyable pen to use. But that's pretty much it. Do you guys have this pen? Do you like this pen? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you like this video, please hit that like button. And if you want to see more fountain pen paper and ink videos, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much, and until next time.